Next we're going to do, for this tape job, I'm going to show you shin splint taping. And there's two different types of taping. We can do posterior medial or medial tibial stress syndrome. And that type of shin splint is us helping to support the soleus muscle. Or the other version, the other alteration, is tib ant, and that would be your anterior shin splints. The two different types of tape jobs vary just in terms of their application of direction of tape and where you also put the raise up the leg. For the posterior medial or the medial tibial stress syndrome, we're actually going to lift up the heel. If we did, and that's the one I'm going to demonstrate. But if we were going to do the anterior, the tib ant, I'd actually put the lift underneath the toes and lift up the toes. So we're going to do posterior medial, so you can put your heel up on that, and then bend your knee slightly and keep your leg in weight bearing. Okay, so for this we are going to use a pressure pad. You'd ask the subject, the athlete, where it actually hurts, get them to point that out, and you're going to make a pressure pad that would be the length of the pain. So we're going to assume in this case that her pain is right through here on the medial side. And you want to make sure your pressure pad is actually just posterior to the tibia. We don't want it on the tibia. On the tibia it doesn't do anything. We want it slightly behind the tibia. So we're going to spray the leg as well. And then we're going to apply our pressure pad. And I'm just going to put one strip on here just to help hold this on. It's not going to be really an application strip to apply pressure. I'm just going to spiral up the leg here just to hold it on. Now everybody's leg is a little different, so your application of your strips, the direction of application is going to vary depending on the type of leg and the shape of leg. But what we're doing with a posterior medial or the medial tibial stress syndrome is we're trying to pull the soleus back to the tibia. So I'm actually going to pull from, trying to rotate around from the medial side, pulling it to the lateral. If it was the anterior tib ant on the anterior shin splint, what I'm going to do is try and pull the tib ant back towards the tibia. So I'm actually going to pull from the lateral side over to the medial side. Our strips are going to go up. So I'm going to start below the anchor and applying an even, constant pressure around the leg. I'm trying to be very careful as to not gap at the back of the calf, so I have to let the tape lie down in its natural angle. Increasing each strip by half, and I might play with the angles as we're going, just so I can get it to lie down as flat as possible. So if you notice on her leg, my angles are changing slightly, so I don't end up going all the way up the leg, but I'm still just trying to cover in this pressure pad. Pressure pad height, like I said before, is covering the area that they're painful in. So you only need to tape up that high. So I'll only do maybe one or two more strips, covering in that pressure pad. I'm going to do one more. I have a little bit of a hole right there just from the angle of her leg. Making sure it's all covered in. There we are. So just to make that a little prettier, I may cover this in just to make it look a little nicer on the actual leg itself. Making sure that the back of the leg is even, that we're not dipping into the leg by pulling one strip heavier or tighter than the strip above or below it. So making sure we have a nice even pressure. Just to even this out, I will just apply a strip around here, try and even out that pressure around her leg. There we go. That's the medial tibial stress syndrome. Like I said, for the anterior shin splint, we wouldn't have the lift at the posterior heel. We'd actually have it at the toes, and the pressure pad would be on the tib end, and we'd apply our pressure from, and I'll just put a strip of tape on, mimicking that, from the lateral side, pulling medially and wrapping around the leg.